Call Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Hamashak Yahushai. This is your fellow servant Tazawar with another lesson. First, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, whom rule well, and from whom we learn his truth. Shalom to you, Akim, who are not in GMS, but are pushing likewise doctrine in spirit and in truth, with all sincerity. To you few sisters, listening and learning, as well as you, Akim, and you speckled birds, looking like the other nations, scattered among the nations, as well as the hopeful elect in the 144 to USA Shalom. What I want to cover today is, a topic that we've dealt with in the past, and our elders have dealt with it, the bishops have dealt with it, all right, the apostles have dealt with it numerous times. And, when we're at camp, and people walk up to us, this actually happened the other week. A guy was like, "Oh, you guys are BHI?" But you often hear, especially GMS, but other camps also, say that we are not black. All right. And that this is not a color thing. However, our opposition, okay, they keep pushing that term BHI, Black Hebrew Israelites. All right, no matter how many times we tell them we're not black. Right. And the Moorish movement have something similar. Nation of Islam, FOI, they have, similar understanding of Esau and his wordplay when it comes to colors, right? That the word black has a negative connotation, and it's a term that's used to dehumanize us as a race of people, all right, as a group. We often say, black is a color in a crayon box. We're different shades of brown, which is factual. All right, we are different shades of brown, but for the purpose of I guess learning how to deal with individuals, or even other organizations that push that terminology on us. One of the things that we go into again is the origin of the word black, and then we go into their color, them or their, they is Esau Edom, all right, and that white is also a social construct, just as black is, okay, because you have individuals that immigrants that come into this country, like Elamites, all right, East Indians, who some of them are darker than so-called Negroes, but they are classified as Caucasian. Okay. That's all, to help inflate their numbers and all that other shit. But the point we want to get to is combating that term BHI. All right, that's what's at the crux of this lesson. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to pull up this 12, 12 tribes sign. All right, 12 tribes chart. Salakia. Now, you often hear our opposition tout rhetoric at us, oh, you guys can't prove the 12 tribes sign, and that's not legitimate. You even hear other Israelite groups with the same talking points, with the same rhetoric, right? Well, at the end of the day, their whole purpose for trying to discredit the sign is because innately, those dogs, all right, understand that if people actually look at the sign and break down the sign and go through the sign, that there are only 3 tribes that would qualify as so-called black by Esau's standards. All right. So if you look at the tribe we have here, the chart, Salakia, that we have here on the screen, the 3 tribes that would classify as so-called black under Esau's moniker are the southern kingdom. Okay. And that's Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right. So if you look at Judah, which is the head tribe, right? The so-called Negroes. Then you have Benjamin, all right, the West Indians and Jamaicans, all right. And then you have Levi, which are the Haitians, okay. That's pretty much it as far as Esau being able to label Israelites as black, okay. And so this also goes to those black only Israelite groups, man. Okay, they are doing us a disservice as a nation as well. And we gonna get on their ass too at a later lesson. We've briefly talked about, we've gotten on them before in the past, but Lord will, Yahweh Ratazah, we gonna tighten their ass up too. All right, because they help push and help push misinformation, and they help give a leg for the enemy to stand on. All right. A lot of that's unbeknownst to them, and some of them are just simple and really don't understand COINTELPRO. They don't understand psyops and things like that. And if they do understand it on the surface level, they are being willfully ignorant of Esau's devices. All right. And the scriptures tell you that this devil put out a diligent search, man. All right. And he's always meditating on evil and wickedness. But anywho, let's get into this a little more. So that starting at Simeon, which is the 4th tribe on a sign, right? If you look at Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and Issachar, these would all be considered non-black peoples. All right. If you look under the so-called column to the right, where you see Simeon is Dominicans, right? Now, obviously, we know that, like I stated before, we come in different shades of brown. So there are Dominicans who are brown skinned, right? Some are very dark. Okay, and I mean they share the island of Hispaniola with the so-called Haitians, right? But the so-called Dominicans, Simeon, they can be very dark as well. Okay, and but they have an aversion to being lumped in or classified with us so-called Negroes, all right, or with the so-called Negroes, all right. I'm a Reubenite, but here in America, I'm a so-called Negro, all right. Um, Zebulon is Guatemalans to Panamanians, right? Now, when you get out of the Caribbean, right, and you start to get into Central America and South America, um, you really those tribes are really where our talking point should be lying, uh, or be pointed at when we're addressing the BHI nomer, all right, or talking point from our adversaries, because Guatemalans, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, even though they're Caribbean, um, there's a lot of Cubans who are light as well. There's some who are dark and some that are very light. You know, I mean, look at Pitbull. You know, now obviously we know that there are tears, all right, scattered uh, among these families, all right, via the line of the conquistadors uh, and those Spaniard Edomites that conquered, Central and South America. However, through mixing, um, the complexion of a lot of our people has been lightened. All right, but again, Guatemalan, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, um, any of the indigenous tribes of the so-called Americas, so like Gad, right, the North American Indians, and we often just, you know, gloss over Gad in terms of Salakia going into depth of how many different tribes of Native Americans there are. But Gad had broke himself up into very small factions. All right, and so we can use um, the North American Indian and the so-called North American Indian. All right, and those factions to really drive our point home. Um, again, when we're speaking of peoples that are non-Caribbean, okay, because a lot of times when you look at history and the Caribbeans, right, the Americas, especially in the Caribbean, that path there um, of the slave trade, okay, uh, I mean that's just associated with so-called blacks, right? Because there's a thing in the world where they say the only difference between a black, a Jamaican, and a Haitian is a stop on a boat trip or some shit like that. However it's phrased. But again, our Latin tribes and um our indigenous Indian tribes, man, we really should be using them to really push home that we are not black as a nation. All right. And if Esau's going to categorize us, which he does regardless, then let's reverse one card on that bastard. Right? Then you have Seminole Indians, right? Reuben, that's the tribe I'm from. Then Argentinian and Chileans, which are Naphtali. Asher, which are Colombians and Uruguayans. All right. Um, And so remember, we have Peru, we've got Venezuela, we've got Paraguay. All of them tribes, you know what I'm saying, are like Naphtali and Asher. All right, a mixture of those people. And then of course we have Issachar, you know, last but not least, because this Issachar is a a fruitful tribe as well. All right, which are the so-called Mexicans, and they're known to be hard workers and shit. But also in the world, Issachar has learned to separate themselves from the so-called Negro, just like a lot of the Latin tribes. Right, especially on the West Coast. Right, so if you live out west or in the Southwest, you can pretty much see that those tribes are still kind of split up. Although the animosity that the Heavenly Father Yahweh has put had at one time placed between those tribes that are being taken up, you don't see like a strong mixing of those tribes like you do in the north. And by north, I mean, like Midwest area, right? The East Coast and down south, Southeast region. Anywho, let's get into some scriptures now because I've been talking for 17 minutes already. But that's just a talking point that I want to remind you Akim, as well as you you Akwat, you sisters. If you are admonishing another sister or she's learning, this is something to keep in mind. All right. As far as a talking point to combat this BHI notion. And also keep in mind, that we all family. So we should have an affinity towards all of these groups of people, just not your own tribe, That's something that if you're a practicing Israelite, you really should get that through your skull. That the preference of your own people still extends to the other tribes, not just your tribe. All right. Anywho, this is Jeremiah 12 and 19. All right. We went through all of those different tribes on that sign. All right. Jeremiah 12 and what did I say? 19. I'm in 9. Salakia. Jeremiah 12 and 9. And it reads Salakia. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. All right. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. All right. That speckled bird, man, going into a multitude of colors and varieties. When you look at a peacock or a quail or a pheasant, colorful bird, that's a speckled bird, man. All right. And the Heavenly Father is saying his heritage is like a speckled bird. All right. So he's acknowledging that we come in different colors, different shades. All right. Now, I'm not going to read the NLT because that is it go off. But let's grab let's grab the book of Baruch. All right. And chapter 2. Let's do like this one. Baruch chapter 2, verse 29. Right? And why are we a speckled bird? Right? Baruch 2 tells you why we are speckled. All right. I'm gonna start at 28. Verse 28. So this is Baruch chapter 2, verse 28. It says, "As thou speakest by thy servant Moses in the day when thou didst command him to write the law before the children of Israel," right? Before the children of Israel, that means in front of the children of Israel, right? Saying, "If ye will not hear my voice, surely this great multitude," all right, that's the congregation, all right, "shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them," right? This is why we are the Most High's heritage is as a speckled bird. All right, remember the book of Ruth, man. All right. So you had Israelites that sojourned in other countries. All right. Ruth was a Moabite. Right. And speaking of that, let's grab Isaiah the 16th chapter. All right. Since we brought up Ruth, and the 4th verse, but let's start at 3. So this is Isaiah chapter 16 and verse 3. It says, "Take counsel, execute judgment, make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcasts." Huh? "Hide the outcasts. Bewray not him that wandereth." All right. Why? Because we were scattered, man. Which we just got in Baruch 2, right? Then what it say? "Let mine outcast dwell with thee, Moab." Right? "Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceaseth, the oppressors are consumed out of the land." Let's grab let's read that verse again. That's the point. It says, "Let mine outcast dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler." All right. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceaseth, the oppressors are consumed out of the land. Let's grab this word covert. Right? First, let's get this word outcast. No, doc, right? It says, impel, thrust, drive away, right? Banish. All right. You know, in this verse, it's not talking about impelling somebody or sticking them on a pike, but it's talking about to drive away or banish. What? Didn't the Heavenly Father just say that he was finna banish us out the land in Baruch chapter 2 and 29? Right? Didn't he say he was finna drive us out the land and uh make us small among the nations, among the heathen? It says to thrust away, banish. All right, to be thrust out, be banished, outcast, to be driven away. All right, to be thrust away, thrust aside, pushed to the side, man. That's what that mean, bro. Right? This is plain. All right, now let's grab this word covert. Right? Shathar. Right? Lead us, right? Shathar. And what this mean? It say covering, shelter, hiding place, secrecy. Ooh. Covering, cover, hiding place, shelter, secret place. Right? Secrecy. Then it say down here in the feminine, it say shelter, protection. Right? Let's get the Strong's definition. I ain't even read that on Outcast. Strong's definition is say a cover, right? It say in a good or a bad, a literal or figurative sense, right? Backbiting, covering, covert, a disguise. A disguise. So the Heavenly Father, man, Yahweh is disguising us among the other nations, right? Because when us as men, when we look at these skin suits, man, in passing, we just walking down the street, your visuals is the first impression that you have, right? But the Heavenly Father and the angels, man, they see it the spirit, right? And then of course discernment of the spirit is given to certain men, but he using Moab as a disguise, bro. Hiding place, privilege, protection. All right. And how can you know? Because Israelites have a different spirit than the other nations. Right. This is how we know that Bruce Lee was an Israelite. Because he damn sure don't move, talk, dress. No, his swag, all of that was of a Jake, man. It was not of a so-called Moabite or a so-called Chinese man. Right? And even today, if you look at all of the K-pop, because them Koreans, they Moabites. All right? With them big ass bucket heads. They Moabites. But when you look at my demon, man, she like that K-pop shit. But some of them motherfuckers can sing, man. And they sound like Jake, man. They got soul. They can carry a note. They don't sound like no Dolly Parton or no Kesha or what's another one? Can't sing like I don't really listen to them Pink Toes like that. But they, and then how they dance, that whole break dancing, b-boy type stuff. They be hitting that shit, man. That's the spirit of a Jake, man. The other nations don't have salt like that. All right, the scriptures tell us that we are the salt of the earth. All right, Elder Malcolm of the Chicago camp goes into that heavy. You know what I'm saying about the speckled birds, man. And those that are scattered, among the nations, looking like the nations, but have the spirit uh and the character of an Israelite. You know? Anywho, so a covert, a hiding place, a disguise. So Moab, right? Let's go back. We on the left side of the page. So Moab, be thou a disguise. Right? Let's start at the top. It says, let mine outcast, right? The banished, let my banished dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a disguise or a covert, a cover, right? A secret place to them from the face of the spoiler. Right? Let's grab this word spoiler too while we here. Right? It say to deal violently with, despoil, devastate, ruin, destroy. These are character to devastate, ruin, and destroy. Them three words in a string describe only one group of people walking around the face of the earth today. And that is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, the pale face, the pink toe. All right. The troglodyte. All right. Troglodyte means cave dweller. All right. That literally means cave dweller, not just referring to a mountain range like Caucasian or the Caucasus Mountains, right? If you really want to call a motherfucker a cave dweller, call him a troglodyte. Anyway, devastate, ruin, destroy. Look, even Elam, the East Indian, be getting on E, the other E, Esau Edom, right? And you already know how we say all that they do is what? Rape, rob, and murder, right? Destroy, devastate, ruin, destroy, spoil. All right? To violently destroy, devastate, despoil, assail, devastator, right? To violently destroy. I mean, that is the sword of the Lord. That's being spoken of right there in that one word. The face of the spoiler. So we know it's talking about a man, right? Or a group of people, right? For the extortioner is at an end. All right, the spoiler ceaseth. The oppressors are consumed out of the land. All right. Now, obviously, I'm applying that verse to today. Okay. But those words absolutely fit Esau Edom, right? Let's grab from there. Let's see. Let's go to Leviticus 26 to bring it back to the point I was making earlier when I brought up Baruch, right? Leviticus 26, and we want tree. I'll start at 32, and it reads, I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. Right? This is the point. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. And we know this happened to us. Right? Numerous times. right? And the biggest time was what? The siege of the Roman siege, man, in 70 AD, right? And our land has been downtrodden with the heathen ever since. Salakia. Ain't it though? All right. So again, scatter you among the heathen. Right. So I read that to you before I took you to the before we went to Isaiah the 16th chapter, and then another one after. So I think that hits that point home. We finna get one more verse and then close it down. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah in the 11th chapter. And I want the 11th verse. 12 is the point. The restored remnant. All right. Why am I ending with this? Because, all right, in terms of the sign, now these lands are not on the sign, but as I read to you in those other verses, we were scattered into all nations. All right. And again, we opened up with Jeremiah 12 and 9. All right. The Lord said his heritage is as a speckled bird. So meaning if we dwell there and Israelite men leave seed in that land, if those male children marry other heathen women, the offspring will look like heathen or less like Israelites. Right? Mariah Carey is an example. Blake Griffin and Blake Griffin's son is an example. Right? We just talked about we brought up Bruce Lee because we read Moab is going to be a covert unto us, right? So these are just things to keep in mind. All right. Anyway, the restored remnant is the header to this verse, right? But Isaiah 11 and 11, and we want 12 is the point. And it says, and it reads, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and Egypt and Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. All right. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcast. There go that word again. And shall assemble the outcast of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah. All right. From the four corners of the earth. All right. And we know that Moab has definitely been a covert unto Judah. Okay. With that, let's read 13 too. Then it says that the envy also of Ephraim, all right, that represents the northern kingdom, shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah. So it's saying that the northern tribes, the northern 9 tribes, 9.5, shall not envy Judah, the southern kingdom. All right, the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And Judah shall not vex Ephraim. All right, I mentioned that earlier. So that that disdain, that animosity between northern and southern kingdom is slowly being wiped away. And we see that a great deal in the Midwest, the East Coast, and down here on the Southeast region. All right. Some places, it's still kind of, you know, every tribe kind of, marry within their own tribe, but we still see, especially uh, the camaraderie with the men uh, building, you know, communication lines and relationships, friendships with the other, men of other tribes. And then, we also see the tribes intermingling and marrying. All right. And that's a beautiful thing. So keep that in mind, and ask the question, if we black, how come only 1/3 of our nation is considered black or Negro by the so-called white man, by Esau? All right. And if it's a pale face asking you, saying that to you, tell them, by your classification, by your leaders, only 3 of our tribes qualify as so-called black. So how can we be black Hebrew Israelites when the majority, right, 9 of the tribes is classified as something other than black, as either indigenous Indian, so-called, you know, I hate that fucking word Indian, but so-called Native Americans or Hispanic or Latin. Right? Again, I hope this was edifying to you. May the blessing of election be upon your households. Till next time, Shalom.